Hi, my name's Rich Litvin, and I'm the author of a book called The Prosperous Coach. It's a book I wrote 2 years ago, and I've just recorded the audiobook of it, so it's really fresh in my mind. And let me take you back in time. There's a reason I wrote the book, because for a while in the community of coaches that I was in, more and more people began to ask questions. They began to ask why I do what I do, and how I do what I do, and what was going on behind what I do, that I was able to enroll clients. One conversation at a time. That I didn't have an email list. That I didn't like search engine optimization. That I didn't like internet marketing, or at least it didn't work for me in order to enroll clients. So for a while, I've been immersed in this world where people have been asking me questions. And then my friend Steve said, how would you like to write a book together? And I thought that would be fun. And we put this book together, and we put it out in the world. And we got overwhelmed by the interest and the fascination and the questions that came back from our community. Now, over the last 5 years, I've run 10 events in total for coaches, up to 100 people at a time, where we dive in deep to the principles behind what is taught in the Prosperous Coach approach. So right now, I've got an invitation for you to come and join me. You see, later this year, we're running an intensive. Now, last year, I said I was putting these intensives on hold. It was time to say pause. I'd done 9 of them, and it was time to do something different. I launched a new program called 4PC for the top 4% of coaches on the planet. And then there was there was a noise behind us, a clamoring from people to like, hey, we want more of this. Don't leave us. We built a big community over the last few years, and the community was saying, hey, don't leave us, don't leave us. And this year I sat down with my team and said, okay, let's answer them. Let's put on another intensive. This next intensive is going to be unusual because I'm taking the themes that I work with with my highest level clients. These are the 3 themes. First one is called creating the impossible. It comes from a concept by Michael Neal around how do you make impossible things happen? How do you do it for yourself? And how do you do it with your clients? How do you literally create the impossible? How do you sell the invisible? Now that's a concept by Harry Beckwith from a book with the same title, Selling the Invisible. How do you sell this thing called coaching, right? Well, what's coaching? Well, you and I sit down in a room and we talk, and your life changes, and you pay me a lot of money. How do you sell that? And the third concept I call serving the incredible. How do you sit down with somebody and draw out their genius? How do you work with clients who are genius already? Clients who already have an outstanding business or a wonderful relationship. How do you serve the incredible? And how you draw the incredible out from the person in front of you? Creating the impossible, selling the invisible, and serving the incredible. Well, let me teach you a little piece right now. Let me talk to you about selling the invisible. How do you sell the invisible? Here's one of the things that people miss. There's one little distinction that really could shift everything for you. So you've finished an amazing coaching session with somebody. If you read the book, you'll see that I don't believe in these 25-minute sessions where it's a taster, and I don't want to really go there all the way with you, because if I do, then you might have all your issues solved and you may not need to work with me. The way I put it is, I'm not looking for clients who have issues. I'm not here to solve your problems. I want to work with you because you want to have an extraordinary life, or an extraordinary business, or an extraordinary relationship. So I want to serve you deeply. I want to dive in deep for an hour, for 2 hours, and again for another 2 hours. Like, just dive in deep with you. I spoke on the phone last week to a woman who, it was the 4th time I've spoken to her. 2 hours on the first call, 2 hours on the second, 2 hours on the third, and we had almost an hour the other day. I'm fully there for her. I am serving her so powerfully. She's never going to forget this conversation. Why am I staying in the game with her? Because I know that she wants this. And because I love what she's up to. And because I've created a business where I have the space that I can sometimes dive in that deep with somebody. And what happens at the end of that? What happens when you fully serve someone? And that's a rarity. I don't usually spend that much time with somebody. There's something special about this woman. I'm willing to stay the course with her. But what do you do at that moment? You've made your wonderful proposal. You've said, like, this is what it would look like for us to work together. This is how many times we'll talk a month. This is what we'll do. This is what happens around email. This is the activities we'll do together. This is how we'll work on the exact issues that you're bringing to the table. Here's the fee. Well, in that moment, they say thank you. And they go away, and you never hear from them again, right? We've all had that experience. What's missing? What's the piece that has those people go away and then come back and say, here's the check, I'm in? Because they're not in when they say they're in. They're in the moment you receive the check. Important distinction. Well, one of the things I've learned to do is to have a way to help them explain this invisible thing called coaching to their friends, to their partners, to their business managers, to their husbands or their wives. Because otherwise, they have this experience with you and their life changes. Their life transforms. They get it, you feel it, they feel it. But it's a felt experience, right? And they go and speak to their partner, and how do they explain that? How do they put it into words? Well, you need to help them. You need to help them translate that feeling in their body that has them say, I'm in, into words and language their clients can go, oh, I get it, I get it. So one of the first things I have them do is grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down some words. The first one for me is the word vision. I sometimes change what that word will be, but let's run with that right now. Vision. And I'll say to them, write that down, put the word vision on a piece of paper. I like to use colored pens, so I have them grab a bunch of different colored pens for each word. So, vision. And I take them back to the vision they brought into our coaching. Now, I've spent 2 hours with them, so I know their vision. I bring them back into that, have them feel it, and say, look, if we work together, this is what we're working on. The vision you have for your life, for your business, for your relationship. Number 2, strategy. Okay, this is the vision you're going to take into the world. But sometimes we can get overwhelmed by the power of our vision. Our dreams become overwhelming, or we have too many options on the table. So I slow them down. Strategy. Okay, so what are you going to be doing week after week? What are you going to be doing day after day? And what's the strategy you're going to have and put into place so we can turn this vision into reality? The way I put it is, I help my clients to dream bigger than they've ever dreamed, but I help them take tinier steps than they've ever taken. And that's the strategy piece. So now 2 different colors, 2 different words, vision and strategy. Next, mindset. What mindset are they going to need? And write it down, mindset on the piece of paper. What mindset are they going to need? Now again, look, I've worked with them, right? 2 hours at least. I can talk about some of the mindsets that have worked for them in the past. Some of the new mindsets, the new approaches to life that might work for them in the future. And I'll have them reflect on that and make it real for them. This isn't some abstract word, mindset. This is for the person in front of me. Vision, strategy, mindset. And then I want to have a look at their shit, I forgot the fucking word. Vision, strategy, mindset, skill set, and environment. Okay, sorry, you got to do some editing here. Next word, skill set. What skills are they going to need to turn this vision into a reality? Maybe they need to build some skills up in public speaking. Maybe they need to build some skills in learning how to pitch. I worked with someone who was raising over $1 million for his animal sanctuary. Had to learn how to pitch from the stage. Maybe they need to learn skills in sales if they have a business. Whatever the skills are, you can start to identify them, pull them out. Some they might work with you on, others they may work on their own, but you want to bring that out, right? Vision, strategy, mindset, skill set, and last of all, your environment. This one is really, really key. Who are the people that give you energy? And who are the people that drain you of energy? What are the things you do that give you energy? What are the things you do that drain you of energy? What habits do you have that give you energy? What habits drain you of energy? What places do you hang out at that give you energy or drain you of energy? That's your environment. In fact, environment is sometimes the most key one to work on, because if you start helping your client to take out of their life anything that drains them of energy, well, guess what? By definition, they have more energy. And that thing that looked impossible a day before suddenly is so much closer than they realize. So now they have a piece of paper, and it's really clear to them. This is how we're going to work together. You see, when people say how we're going to work together, most coaches go into, oh, let me tell you, we're going to have 4 calls a month. You could got unlimited email with me. You can do this with me. You do this. They'll talk about their type of coaching. I do ontological coaching. I do deep coaching. I do somatic body work, and they don't care. That's your strategy. It's less relevant to them. It's relevant if they feel it and they want more of it. It's not relevant with their selling the invisible, because there's another sale. It's not just the sale of you and what you've done with the person in front of you. This is something abstract. This is something unusual. This thing called coaching that you're immersed in. You know this world. So your friends talk about this thing called coaching. Believe it or not, most people on the planet have no clue what coaching even is. On a regular basis, people say to me, well, what does it mean to be a coach? So you have to help the person in front of you to sit down with the people in their world and explain that feeling on the inside that has them say, I'm from an abstract into something that they can talk to their friends about. Vision, strategy, mindset, skill set, their environment. And you've had it relate back to each of the issues, the challenges, the dreams, the desires of the person in front of you. So it's real for them. They take that piece of paper away with them. That's what you're selling. That piece of paper is what they can understand, what they can talk to their friends about, their colleagues about, their husband or their wife about. That's just one of the ways we sell the invisible. I want to dive into that for this event. I want to talk more about creating the impossible. How do you take big dreams and turn them into a reality, either your own or your clients? And how do you serve the incredible? How do you sit down with someone? One of my clients was a British Special Forces operative. He'd been in Afghanistan, he'd been in conflict situations, would have scared the hell out of me, scared the hell out of most people on the planet. But I worked with him on his biggest fear. Well, it turns out his biggest fear was actually selling. And what he was doing in the world now that he was no longer a soldier was really scary to him. It didn't matter, he could do things that would scare most people. There was still something that was scary for him. It's really usually the only place I like to work with when I'm working with a client. What scares you the most? Let's dive in there. But it's important to realize this is not about information. These intensives that we run are not about information. They're about transformation. Really, you won't even need a notebook, because it's changing your neurology, changing the way you show up that's going to have everything shift for you. In this intensive, we're about engaging your mind and your heart and your body. Because from that place, with all three engaged, that's when everything will shift for you. Don't come here waiting to be comfortable to sit down and take notes. I want you to be leaning into your edge. I will be challenging you. We've challenged people at our events literally to go out and create clients from the room. You've got 2 hours for lunch, go out and create a client. We've challenged people to go out and create money. We made in proposals over $1 million at one of our events. We have people going out making proposals. One of those people, the man I mentioned earlier actually, who was raising money for his animal sanctuary, he told us later, came back to a second intensive. He said, I made 3 proposals that day, that hour-long lunch break. Each of them was for $1 million. Each person I asked for $1 million donation to my animal sanctuary. And I was scared and I didn't know how to do it. And to be honest, 2 of them said no, and 1 of them never called me back. But something changed inside of me as a result of taking on your challenge. Because my challenge to them was to fail, by the way. It wasn't to be successful. It was to fail. It was to risk being embarrassed. It was to risk falling down and making a mistake. And he owned it. He did. Came back to an intensive 9 months later and said, I made nothing from those 3 proposals. But let me tell you what's happened in the 9 months since. I've now raised over $1 million for my own animal sanctuary, and we've now bought a new property and we're moving in as a result of that very challenge. One of the participants at one of the intensives came along with a question about how to enroll someone who he knew who was a billionaire. As a result of coaching in that room, he signed that billionaire as his client. We've had people come from our intensives to sign their first ever $300 client. And we've had people the entire spectrum. But don't come here looking for a place where you can soak up more information. You want information about how to get clients? Read my book, Google how to get clients. All the information is out there. This is a place about transformation. This is a place about you showing up and taking risks. You showing up and leaning into your edge. You showing up and making mistakes and failing. And asking the questions that feel embarrassing to ask and sharing the things that you don't want others to know. Because I promise you I'll be doing the same. I won't hold back. You know, if anyone promised you that there's a magic button around getting clients, they're lying. It's a constant journey. Me too. Even the last 6 months, it's been a tough time personally, to be frank. I've had a lot of challenge. I've got 2 beautiful baby boys, but one's 1 and one's 3, and I've been exhausted. And my father passed away last year. And with all that going on, I took my attention off creating clients. Well, if that happens, then no clients show up, right? It's a constant game. I call it always be creating clients. It doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to be stressful. But it is a game you always need to play. And taking my attention off it meant that clients stopped showing up. So I had to get creative again. I use a phrase called, money is the most perfect expression of my creativity. When my bank account used to get low, I'd feel miserable. And when it was high, I'd feel great. That's not a great way to manage life or business, because I'd go on this up and down roller coaster. Instead, I now say that money is the most perfect expression of my creativity. If my bank account's low, it's a clue. Time to get creative rich. If my bank account's high, I can celebrate because I've been creative. I also know that money is a sign of service. Have I been out there serving people? This book can be summed up in one word. It's the word service. This book is about serving people and serving them deeply. Look, I can get a bit intense. That's just my way of showing up in the world, and I'm passionate about this subject. You know, 80% of coaches make 20 grand a year or less. That's really sad, and it doesn't need to be that way. And it is that way because so many of them buy into this story that they need to be doing internet marketing or have an email list or do a search engine optimization or have a following on Twitter of tens of thousands of people. Look, if that turns you on, go ahead and do it. I'm not opposed to it. You just don't need to. There is a way to build a business, build a practice, one powerful conversation at a time. It's what I love. And so as intense as I can be about this, our intensives are about fun too. They're about community. They're about connection. They're about laughter. They're about challenges. And I invite you to come along and play with us. We'll be in Los Angeles from the 17th to the 20th of September this year. You'll get to immerse yourself in our community. You'll get to immerse yourself in our way of doing things. And you'll see too that it's not about doing it my way. You will meet the members of my community who've come back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to our intensives, and you'll see how different they are. You'll meet Alison, who designs the beautiful illustrations that you'll see that we've done for our previous intensives. Alison's way of creating clients is immersing herself in Facebook, connecting deeply with people there. You'll meet David from England, who has a completely different approach. Used to be a consultant, had a 7-figure business, struggled initially with his coaching practice, and has taken it to a really high level. You'll meet Marilyn, who's a single mother. Boy, the single mothers I've met, the mothers I've met in the community, who've told the stories of what it's like to literally have to coach from a closet or a bathroom in order to have a bit of peace or silence in order to coach. You'll meet Mark, who had a background in sales, multi-million-dollar technical sales, and then became a coach. And then had to really slow himself down enough so that one tiny step at a time, he'd head in the direction he wanted. One tiny step at a time, he'd let go of anything that wasn't a hell yes for him. And as he began to do that, his hell yes clients began to show up. His hell yes opportunities began to show up. I'd love to see you this September. We're going to have fun. We're going to lean into our edge. We're going to get uncomfortable. We're going to fail. We're going to take risks. We're going to share what we don't want others to know about us and bring that out into the room. And don't come if you're not ready to play full out. Don't come if you're skeptical. You want to kick the tires, come from this place of, I don't believe this will work, but prove it to me, Rich. I'm not here to prove it to you. This will work if you're determined. You know, one of the reasons that higher fees have extraordinary clients show up, it's a sign of their commitment. So come if you're willing to commit to playing full out. Look, we have had people fly in as far as Australia to these intensives. And I used to go up to those people and say, hey, at the end I'd say, hey, I hope you got value from this intensive. And it suddenly dawned on me, what was I talking about? Those people were determined to create value themselves. If you invest in getting to an intensive like that, you are going to play full out. And that's what I'm calling out from you. Come ready to play. Because I am, because our community is. Then we'd love to see you.